And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us every Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Can't thank you enough for being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Of course, you are with us around the country and the world, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around this spinning rock we call the beautiful earth that God blessed us with. YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So many different ways to connect with us live. And then the shows will go to the archive. I just added a bunch of stuff last night from our Liverpool football 2024 preview conversations with the student athletes, as well as head coach Joe Sindoni. That all came from Avicoli's, and you can check that out today. So make sure you head off there to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube, among others. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So, thank you to everybody that's done that. When you do that, click follow and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our broadcasts ever again. And today is Thursday. So you know that it's the PJ Takeover. The grand old smooth one is here with me, and I am so excited to have PJ on the broadcast here. Papa Joe and I have a lot of things to talk about. We have our college football week 1 recap. We're going to make our college football week 2 and make picks for college football week 2. We're also going to make our picks for NFL week 1. That is right, folks. NFL week 1 picks coming up to you. Can you believe that the NFL is back? It's here tonight. The Ravens at the Chiefs. And that, to me, folks, here on September 5th, you see the date and you're like, okay, it's coming back. It's going to be here. But then all of a sudden it sneaks up on you and football is back. The New York State Fair just finished up. Our weather's been a little bit cooler. It's been nice at night. And now we have football, and everything seems right with the world as the Ravens will take on the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson and Patty Mahomes are going to be at it. Derrick Henry's on a new team, the Baltimore Ravens. Travis Kelce may be dating Taylor Swift. Maybe he's not. I hope it's not the whole game that we have to see it and talk about it. I'd love to just play football. So that, not that you don't go out there and say hi to your lady, but there's 53 guys on the Chiefs roster. If you're going to show Taylor Swift, if those other 52 guys have significant others, you better show them too, or I'd have a little gripe about it. PJ and I are here to talk about a lot of things. Before we get to any of those picks, Major League Baseball. So I'm going to unleash the Goso, the PJ, the Papa Joe on the world, on the diamond. Here we go. This man is the Incredible Hulk, okay? Before we bring him in, because he's right here waiting for us, but I got to say this really quick. Before we bring in Papa Joe, I got to tell you something. He is coming off of moving couches with a pinky. He is coming off of lifting up lazy boy chairs with one foot. And this man has balanced all this stuff while he has been researching and preparing for you. So as he has been a mover and a shaker and pushed one house right out of the way so he could get to the one he needed to get to, he also has done his research. So the Goso is now the Goso Hulk, and he's here with us this morning. PJ, how we doing?
Thank you, Daniel. That's very kind. I'm a hurting gator, I'll tell you. I'm tired. The show must go on. Joe and the kids are running all over the place, and, Mary's running everywhere. Diane is running everywhere, so, hey, it's just part of the deal. It's fun, but it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's stressful. Okay, well,
Yeah, so
We
we
got
yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up here on the broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and of course, I want to thank all of our wonderful partners that you can see on your screen right now. PJ and I have a lot of different things that we're going to get to this morning. We're going to start in the world of Major League Baseball, like we always do, and PJ, when we look at Major League Baseball, we're edging closer and closer. The last time you and I spoke, we were a little over 30 games to go in the regular season, and now we have brought ourselves even more to this finish line, more to this place of teams deciding this. Right, the wild card standings comes up so early on in the season, like literally right at the beginning of the season, they're like, well, this is where every team is sitting right now. And some people might think, hey, this is kind of crazy to see where these teams are so early. We're 15 games into a 162 game season. And then before you know it, we're in a place where those wild card standings that we've been staring at for months on end have now put us in a place where we are in crunch time. We are in the final moves here. This is a chess game that's been played for a very long time, and these teams are trying to be the ones that advance into the postseason. So, with that being said, PJ, I want you to bring us around the league, and then we'll take a look at exactly where everybody stacks up as we are ever closer to the 2024 Baseball Diamond postseason.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, let's start out with the American League East. Baltimore has an 81-60 record. New York's a half a game behind. And I'm sticking Boston in there. They're 10.5 behind. They still only have an 8% chance of getting the playoffs. But, you know, I want to just throw it out there just to give them some kudos. We know the Judge is hitting the hell out of the ball. Juan Soto, when we got it last night, he's got 38 homers and 98 RBIs, closely behind the Judge. So those two guys are going to be a real load for anyone who's going to face them in the playoffs. In the Central Division, we got Cleveland at 80-60. Minnesota's 4.5 behind. So is Kansas City, 4.5 behind. All three of these teams will make the playoffs. I'm still looking for KC to play ball. They're not playing ball. They're messing around. I don't like it. KC is the better team in this division, and I hope that they play their way into the league. If not, they'll make the playoffs and go through it that way. They just got too much talent, and I don't know if it's a manager or not, but they're not clicking. And you better start clicking at the end of the year because it's too late if you don't. And West Division, we got Houston at 75-64. Everyone else is gone. Kaput finish. So we have Baltimore, New York, Cleveland, Minnesota, Kansas City, and Houston. Those guys are in the playoffs. We'll discuss that probably next week when it comes to the seeding times. Average-wise, we got Bobby Witt from Kansas City is hitting 339. Looks like no one's going to stop him. Judge is hitting 323. Judge has to pick it up. If he's going to take it, if he's going to win the Triple Crown, he's got to win the batting average, home run, and RBI. He's already had in home runs. He's got 51, and RBIs is 124. You know, we use the term generational talent sometimes around the broadcast, but he truly is a generational talent. He's a little bit older than one is, but he just got coming into his prime. He's a fearsome person up there. I wouldn't want to try to pitch to him unless I had a knuckleball or something. It wins. We got Derek Skubal from Detroit has 16 wins. He's also leads the ERA with a 2.51. I said this last week. I don't know how this guy did not get traded to a contender because he's a killer playing for a poor Detroit team. So, you know, kudos to this guy. I don't even know who he is. I had to look him up to find out what he's been doing. Emmanuel Place has 41 saves for Cleveland, and he leads the league far more. Let's go to the National League, and then we'll get into some other stuff. National League, Philly is 83-56. Atlanta is 7 games behind. I'm putting the New York Mets in there at 7.5 behind because they've improved their chances of getting in the playoff. I don't think they will, but Atlanta's stumbling. They're stumbling. Philly was 8-2 last 10 games. Atlanta's only 6-4, and New York is creeping up, even though they have a 39% chance to get in the playoffs. Philly took the series from Atlanta. That's why they stretched their lead out a little bit. And that's what they should do because they are the best team in this division. Southern Division, we got Milwaukee at 81 and 59. Forget about everyone else; they're gone. In the West, we got LA at 84 and 56. San Diego is 4.5 behind. Arizona is 5 behind. LA was 7 and 3, along with San Diego in the last 10 games. Arizona was only 5 and 5. That's 2-game difference right there, and that's the difference right now. Arizona played LA, and they didn't take the series, as I said before. When you have a series with a leader, you got to take 2 or 3 or 3 or 4. You can't split. You can't lose it. That's tough for Arizona. Now they got to come back again. I'm sure they'll play them again maybe sometime, or maybe he played San Diego straight up. Average-wise, we got Philly, Atlanta, Milwaukee, LA, San Diego, Arizona. In the National League, those guys are in the playoffs. Unless New York Mets make some miraculous. Look, Atlanta's leaking a little bit of oil here. And they don't pick it up. The Mets are going to slip right in there, so they got to start playing better ball. Average-wise, we got Reyes from San Diego is hitting 311. Marcell Ozuna is hitting 305. The reason I say that is because he has a chance for a triple crown, as does Ohtani. But Ohtani's average has dropped below 290. So, he's got to really go on a tear to even get close. Ohtani is leading the league with 44 homers. Ozuna has 37. RBIs, Wally Adames from Milwaukee has 100. Ohtani is 99. Ozuna's 98. Now, to rephrase what I said about the most valuable player, Ohtani's got to pick up his average, definitely. Keep hitting home runs and keep hitting RBIs. Ozuna has got his average up. He's a little bit behind in home runs. He's very close to be leading in RBIs. He's got a better chance than Ohtani right now. Unreal. Wins, Chris Sale. Atlanta's got 16. ERA, Chris Sale's leading it from Atlanta's 2.46. Wheeler, San Francisco, 2.63.
Yeah.
Saves, Ryan Helsley from St. Louis is still way above the best at 42 saves. He's gonna win that easy. Last night there was a no-no, or what we call a no-hitter. Mm-hmm. Shota Imanaga, the Chicago Cubs, pitched 7 innings, no hits, 2 strikeouts. Pearson and Hodges swept up. They got the no-hitter. But you see, he didn't get credit for a no-hitter because he only pitched 7 innings. But anyway, Chicago threw a no-hitter against Pittsburgh, which is great. Orlando Tatis from San Diego is back off the disabled list and is killing it. He had a walk-off last night that helped San Diego win. And San Diego is a really, really good hitting team. Their pitching is fair, but they're a killer at the plate. And Tatis coming back now is really going to help San Diego. So Arizona's got to be mindful of that. Good Matt Chapman, good for him. He got a 6-year, $151 million contract from the San Francisco Giants. He deserves it. He's been an all-around good hitter for several years. This is my next stat is disturbing. Chicago White Sox, who are 0, period. They beat Baltimore 8-1 last night. Now Baltimore wants to win their division.
Yeah.
You don't go around losing. You don't go around losing to someone like the Chicago White Sox. So they got to pick it up too. Kansas City, they won 4-1 last night. Lugo picked up his 15th win. Arizona 6, San Francisco 4. The reason I put that in is because Zach Gallen pitched 6 innings, no hits, struck out 8. He's got 11-6 record now, and Gallen is my man for Arizona that's going to carry him through. And Jordan Montgomery, if he ever wakes up. That's it in a nutshell, Daniel. So we got plenty of things to talk about, though.
Yeah. We're in a place right now where we're trying to, obviously sift through this, right? These teams are trying to decide who's going to be where, and some of them that look like they were maybe going away have found their way back. One of them being the New York Mets, right? They kind of look like they were falling. I didn't think they were out of it, but some people thought it's done. The Mets are out. They tried. It's not going to work out. Well, they're still there now. The Mets are still hanging around. The Phillies are 7.5 games ahead of the Atlanta Braves, or 7 games, pardon me, at the time that we're talking, and they're 7.5 above the Mets. The Mets are only a half game out of the wild card. The Mets have not only been chasing the Braves in their division of the NL East, they've been chasing the Braves for the last NL wild card spot. That division, that half a game, which it was a few weeks ago, is not just separating the Mets from divisionally being in second place. It's separating the Mets from whether or not they have anything to do in a couple weeks. So that half a game right there, the Braves are 76-63. The Mets are 76-64. PJ, what are your thoughts about that specific race? Because it's not the Braves and the Mets behind the Phillies, and that's the story. It's the Braves and the Mets, because that whole fight of, like, can the Braves shrink this gap? It was 15 games, 12 games, then it's down to 5, 7 games. Could the Braves somehow find a way to win the division over the Phillies? And the conversation has been, can the Braves close the gap? But I think the real conversation is between the Braves and the Mets. That's the battle. That's the fight. The Phillies, no matter what's going on, they found a way to not only be leading the division, but once again now having almost a 10-game lead. Now, they got to take care of business. They can't let this thing shrink and shrink and shrink. You don't want to come down to the final series. But I think the big conversation of the NL East is Braves, Mets, and which one of these two teams is going to get into the postseason. Because the Braves have been just a hair above the Mets, and they're still a hair above the Mets. Can the Mets close the gap? That's my question.
Well, we got, as I mentioned, Phillies 83-56, which is correct. They were 8-2 in the last 10 games. The Mets were 8-2 in their last 10 games. Atlanta only 6-4 in the last 10 games, and 2 of those losses were to Philly, which there's the difference right there. Even though the Mets have 39% chance of getting into playoffs, I don't see them doing that. Atlanta's pitching is far too strong, and their hitting is really super. Philly's big three are going to lead them pitching-wise with Nola, Wheeler, and Ranger Suarez. In a short series, they're going to take things over. Atlanta, I told them they're leaking a little oil. I don't know what the problem is, but they better pick a look. They got the best pitcher in baseball, and they got him from Boston. It's Chris Sale. I mean, you're not going to rag his arm out by throwing him out there every 4th day. He's got to do his 1 every 5 or 1 every 6 days. The other guys, Charlie Morton, those guys have got to pick it up. New York is Francisco Lindor is making a really tepid chance to slip in there for the MVP. He's having a hell of a season, and the last half of the season, he's really picked it up. His average is about 275. His home runs over 30. RBIs almost 90, somewhere around there. So he's really leading the Mets hitting-wise. Pete Alonso, of course, is always hitting home runs. They still only have a 39% chance to do it, Daniel. I don't see it. I think it's just going to be a Philly and Atlanta, Milwaukee, and then the 3 guys from the West.
Yeah, and when we go to the NL West to look at that battle as well, PJ, we've spoken about it before, that the Dodgers, like the Phillies, have held their own. That Padres get a little bit hot, Dodgers stay in first place. Diamondbacks, hottest team in baseball, Dodgers stay in first place. They've been able to keep these two teams away from them, even if it's 3 games. Now, at the time we're talking, the Padres are 4.5 behind the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks are 5 behind the Dodgers. What are your thoughts on the Padres and the Diamondbacks now? I know we've talked about this before, but the way that this has looked in the wild card is that the NL West is going to send 3 of their 5 teams to the postseason. They're going to send the Diamondbacks. they're going to send the Padres if they continue to win their games and close the season out strong. They're going to go with the Dodgers to the postseason. If it happened today, the Dodgers would be the number 1 overall seed in the National League, followed by the Phillies, then the Brewers. The Padres would start the wild card as the 4 seed, the Diamondbacks would be the 5th seed, and the Braves would be the 6th seed. So these 3 teams have put themselves for many, many, many weeks in a position that they're all going to make it. The Dodgers have now risen above the Phillies. So my 2-part question is, are the Dodgers better than the Phillies? And my second question is, between the Padres and the Diamondbacks, feet to the fire, if they were playing each other, who would you take?
Okay, well, that's a good question. Certainly the Dodgers are very formidable. With Mookie Betts coming back off the injured reserve list, he's backing up Ohtani. That's a hell of a 1-2 punch, boy. Facing Ohtani and Mookie Betts. And then Freddie Freeman and then Smith, the catcher. I mean, that's murderer's row right there. Certainly LA's got no chance of backing up at all. San Diego has a better hitting team than Arizona right now, just in his pitching also. San Diego is 7-3 in their last 10 games. Zone only 5-5. I still like San Diego because they hit the ball better. Arizona has not played the kind of ball that they did last year. And why is that? Well, a couple of their big players, especially Corbin Carroll, has not played up the par. Little sophomore jinx right there. Not unusual. Happens to just about every ball player after a rookie season. So he's picking up a lot. Now he's hitting over 230. Before he was at the Mendoza line, if you remember, below 200. That was a couple months ago. So he's picked it up. He's a terrific player. Certainly he can help carry the team. With Fernando Tatis coming back with San Diego, that makes him a hell of a hitting team too. Pitching wise, I don't know if San Diego's got they're both about the same. That's why they're almost identical. But these guys, I mean, San Diego's 80-61, and Arizona's 79-61. I mean, that's playing really good ball. I didn't think Arizona had a chance early in the year, but they're picking it up, as I said. And with Corbin Carroll can carry his weight, and they'll be there. But the way I like it is, let's just leave it at that. Neither one of these teams are going to knock off L.A. So both of these guys are going to be wild cards, I assume, because L.A.'s got the best record. So they'll have to play their way in from the wild card, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see between these two. But let's look at the Dodgers. I want to go to the first part of that question. The Dodgers and the Phillies. If you had to choose right now today, who is the better baseball team this season? The Los Angeles Dodgers or the Philadelphia Phillies? Let's look at the entire season leading up to right now in this moment. If you had to pick one, who is the better team? Philly or LA?
Well, that's a loaded question, Daniel. Well, I'm going to have to say, right off the bat, I'm going to have to say Ohtani because of his hitting and leading off. Probably going to be the MVP of the year. Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Gavin Stone. Is it pitching at 3.33 ERA? Last now 3.49 ERA. And the ace of their staff right now is Jack Flaherty. He's got 2.95 ERA. Also, with LA comes Clayton Kershaw, the grand old smooth one of pitching, and Walker Buehler, who's had a 2 years rotator cuff problem, and 2 years he hasn't pitched. So this last game, which was not 2 nights ago, I think he pitched 6 innings, gave up 4 runs and 2 hits. So, 2 hits and 4 runs. No, 4 runs, 2 runs and 4 hits. That's what it was. So if he gets in his groove, that's tough. So you got those 2 guys mentioned with Stone, Glasnow, and Flaherty. That makes it pretty tough for Arizona to come by. With Philly, of course, you got Alex Bowen, who's hitting almost 290 or more, 13 homers, over 80 RBIs. Trey Turner, terrific player, hitting over 300.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper, MVP 2 years in a row. He's hit 26 homers, 76 RBIs. Nick Castellanos, a blast from the past, 18 homers, 71 RBIs. Now you got the 300 monster of Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Ranger Suarez. On top of that, I forgot to put Kyle Schwarber into this, the Philly mash. He had 3 home runs in just last night. 2 nights ago, he had 3 home runs. So he's almost got 100 RBIs and over 30 RBIs, over 30 home runs. So between Schwarber, Bone, and Harper, Castellanos hitting, then you got Wheeler, Noah, Suarez pitching. To me, it's an even contest. If I had to take the one right now, I'd have to say Philly.
PJ taking the Philadelphia Phillies over the LA Dodgers if he had to pick today. PJ, I got something before we take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Papa Joe and I speaking with you on so many different topics. It is the PJ Takeover on Thursdays on Wake Up Call, and we're starting with Major League Baseball. We will continue on with a recap, a look at how we did in our picks for college football week 1, as well as assessing some of the teams early on in the season. Then we'll get into college football week 2 picks and NFL week 1 picks, as today is the first day of the 2024-25 NFL season. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm grateful to God every single time that football season rolls around and we get the opportunity to jump right into it. PJ and I have been very blessed on Thursday. A lot of news has happened on Thursdays. So we've been able to be here and bring you right into it. We're bringing you into the NFL season today, and we'll do that later on in the show. But before we get there, PJ, I want to get your thoughts on this. There's a statistic that's up, and that statistic is that the Arizona Diamondbacks lead all of Major League Baseball, that they are first amongst 30 Major League Baseball franchises with a first inning batting average of .321. No other team in Major League Baseball this season is even hitting above 300 in the first inning at all. So the Arizona Diamondbacks, in the first inning of their games, on average, is batting .321, getting after it early, trying to get out to an early lead. No one else in baseball this season is even above 300. What are your thoughts on this unique statistic of the Arizona Diamondbacks being in a league of their own, batting over 300 in the first inning when the other 29 franchises aren't doing it?
That's an interesting stat. The only answer when they get into the playoffs, start playing better teams, that number goes down. And it will go down because they're facing the best pitchers of the other teams when it comes to the playoffs. So kudos to them for doing that. That's interesting. And they're probably doing that without Carroll, too, because he wasn't hitting leadoff for a long time. Remember, I suggested they move him down on the order, which they have, and got his hitting back, and now I think he's batting second or third now or something like that. Arizona's being led this year by Marte, and that last year he was just as good as Carroll, and this year he's better than Carroll. So really, he's carrying the league, and I think he's batting second. So it's an interesting stat. So we'll see where it goes in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens here as we get into closer and closer to the postseason. At the time, 21 games from being done with their season. So we're around 20 games, a little over 20 games for some of these teams. And PJ, a final question about Major League Baseball before we take a step aside and then hop into football is the biggest disappointment. When we look at teams this season in the American League and in the National League, who has been to you, be it the Rangers, who are the reigning World Series champions, who are nowhere near the race right now to get into the wild card or anything, the Rangers, the Mariners, the Rays, the Tigers, I want one American League team, one National League team. National League, maybe the Cardinals. The Cubs still are in the hunt. They're 4.5 games back. The Cardinals are 5.5 games back. The Nationals, the Pirates, who some people had some hope for in recent history here. I want one National League and one American League team that you consider to be the biggest disappointment this season that is not going to be going to the postseason.
Okay, well, all right, I'll get through that. In the National League, well, it's going to have to be the Cubs. They were set up to really win big this year by getting a few players and also getting the best manager, I think, in baseball, which is Craig Counsell, leaving Milwaukee. Even though the Cubs are a little bit over 500, or 72 and 68, and they played a lot better the last second half of the season coming around. I think the Cubs, I picked them earlier in the year to upset Milwaukee for this division, so they're not going to make it, but they're playing good ball at the end of the year. The Cubs would be my answer for the National League. Now for the American League, that's going to have to be Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay always has a difficult time playing against Baltimore, Detroit, and Boston in the same division. But, every other year or 2 out of 3 years, they seem to win a division. They're not doing it this year. They don't have enough parts. I certainly think that they would be the one leading it. The other one is certainly Texas. After winning it all last year, and they're just winning. I got 67 and 73 records. Terrible. But my major disappointment, of course, is the Angels because of Mike Trout not being there. I'm really perplexed about Mike Trout. I don't know if he's going to make it, Daniel. It's hard for me to say that because he's my favorite player. As you know, I got stuff all over the house here with him.
Yeah.
He was a generational player, that's for sure. And he's the one that really came into the league storming, won 3 MVPs by the time he was 30 years old. Now he can't even see the field.
Yeah.
I sit here crying about what's happened with him. I just pray that next year he comes back strong and carries on. But there's some disappointing teams and there's some really disappointing teams. So those are my answers.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been tough in the Los Angeles Angels. I mean, listen, they had Shohei Ohtani. They had Mike Trout. They couldn't get to the postseason with the both of them. They never went to the postseason together. Mike Trout went to one postseason, and Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on the same team at the same time never, ever went to the postseason, which makes no sense. You have arguably the 2 best hitters in baseball on the same team. You have arguably the best pitcher in baseball, and they couldn't find a way to get it done. And that just goes to show you, like it does not just in baseball, but across many sports, that you could have a superstar, a generational player. You could have 2 superstars, 2 MVP caliber people. And at the end of the day, if the rest of the team, if the organization isn't built right, you just have a not great team with a couple really great players. And I've seen it happen. I mean, look at Barry Sanders with the Detroit Lions. Nobody could stop him except for his own team. He could do whatever he wanted to do on the field, but his team couldn't win a game. And look at Dan Marino. Never won a Super Bowl. Look at how good he is. Some people consider his arm to be the best arm that has ever existed in the NFL. And unfortunately, we don't see him get to the promised land. Some teams have really, really good leaders, right? I don't even want to say leader, really good players. Somebody who just sticks out. But a team is the sum of its parts, not the sum of one part. They're the sum of its parts. If Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout was playing in tennis and they were all-stars, yeah, you could do it alone. But the Los Angeles Angels have been a great conundrum, which to me goes to the organization and says, what are you doing systematically that isn't working? because now you don't have Shohei. You don't have Mike Trout again. You've gone through other injuries. What is going to be the plan for the Angels moving forward? What are they going to do when it comes to their prospects, to making moves in the offseason? Because you can't keep going in this, we hope Mike Trout plays and we're going to put a bunch of people around him. That hasn't worked all but one time in over a decade. So the decision-making for the Angels is now. Their plan should be in place well before the end of the season. And if they don't have the right people in that front office that are willing to sit down and make these plans and look at everything and truly understand that you can't keep going in the same direction unless you want the definition of insanity to rue your life, then they need to get somebody else in the front office. PJ, the Los Angeles Angels took a ton of talent and just wasted time. It didn't work. Be it the rest of the pitching staff, be it the hitting, be it the batting order, whatever it is, the best thing to happen to the Los Angeles Angels was a movie called Angels in the Outfield. And that movie came out when I was a kid. So for the last 2 decades, I don't know what's been going on the majority of the time with the Los Angeles Angels, but I don't know, and that's okay. If they don't know, we got a problem.
That's about it. That's about it.
We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we spin back around, we'll jump to our college football Week 1 picks. How did PJ and I do? And what is going on with them hurting Gators and Florida State? The only thing to make Papa Joe happy in a time where the Gators are struggling is when Florida State is struggling too. We'll be back after this fast break, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in '07, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really changed the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allowing customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Make sure you definitely head out to servomation.com on your device today. Look it up, check it out. They have an amazing way of doing things. Not the vending that I'm used to, not the vending that I would have ever thought of. When I went into break rooms as a kid, it was that tuna salad that was just spinning around for God knows how many months. I mean, I remember going to like big companies, and their vending was awful. And the choices, you're looking around trying to find the least of the evils that were in there, so to speak. And then you meet a place like Servomation, and you see the technology that you have, the attention to detail to making sure that their customers have what they need. I went and toured their massive kitchen and saw the different things that they offer. And I mean, it's better than some restaurants. It's better than some cafe places with what you can get out of their vending. So I would absolutely tell you to go to servomation.com and to look at bringing them into your business, your school, your college, your university, wherever you may be, because they do a very unique job, and I'm super proud to work with them. So shout out to Brian Bruno and the crew. And more than anything else, I love that they care about their employees and they treat them as family. That, to me, is how every business should be run. And I appreciate those that see the value in their people. So with that being said, PJ and I had our picks last week. And I'm bringing up the screen so you can see who we picked, because PJ and I, we stay honest. We don't shy away from the picks that we made. When we're right, people go, they didn't say that. And I put it up on the screen. When we're wrong, people go, they did say that. And we go, yeah, we did. And you know what? Here's why. So PJ and I did college football week 1. We're going to take a look at how we did. I'm going to go down the line, and then PJ and I are going to have some topics that come off of it here on Wake Up Call, where sports meets life. So let's go to the first game that we had here on our list. We had North Carolina over Minnesota. And North Carolina made a field goal. Minnesota missed theirs as time expired. So PJ and I got that right. I watched that game live. North Dakota State put up a heck of a fight. Lost 31-26 to Colorado, Deion Sanders' Colorado team. But North Dakota State, I'm not ashamed of that pick. I don't think PJ is either, seeing how that game shook out. Now, the other game that we had here was that we picked Oklahoma, and I'm taking a look on this now, bringing up, there's so many games that have been played that trying to keep track of all of it here makes life very interesting. So PJ and I both picked Oklahoma, who is in their first season, mind you, inside of the SEC, and in the Oklahoma matchup up against, let's see here, I want to make sure I bring this up here. So Oklahoma won that game. They are 1-0. We got that correct. And Oklahoma defeating Temple 61-3 in that matchup. A big-time blowout. Now, Oklahoma has played the American Athletic Conference. They've had games that were close, the Tulsas and the Tulanes, but ultimately in this game, Oklahoma was well ready to take on this matchup, and they won it. So we got them in the victory formation here. The other game that we had Stanford. I stayed up late to watch this game, and the game was on. I mean, this is West Coast. Weird thing, you watch the game and you see on Stanford's field, and if you are paying attention to this like I am, because I've spent so much time with realignment, Stanford's field has an ACC on it now. You look at some of these other teams, and you're seeing that the Big Ten is up there on their field as opposed to seeing the Pac-12. It's gotten really, really strange, but this is where we're at in college football right now. Until this thing corrects itself, it's going to look really weird. And so the Stanford game that PJ and I picked, we thought Stanford going up against TCU could create a little bit of a matchup here, and there could be a chance for Stanford. I think Stanford should be regarded a little bit higher than maybe they are right now. I think that they're being overlooked at the moment, and maybe that's a good thing for them. But Stanford, in their matchup, they went up against TCU, and TCU being a strong team inside of the Big 12 and in general, TCU was able to win by a touchdown, 34-27, but a really good game there. So PJ and I got that one wrong. We picked the Georgia Bulldogs to take care of Clemson, and they did 34-3. And then Penn State and West Virginia is where PJ and I didn't go the same. He went with West Virginia. I went with Penn State. And Penn State took that game 34-12 on the road. So I got that victory, and PJ did not get it with West Virginia. Then Miami and Florida. PJ went with the Gators. I went with the road Hurricanes, and the Hurricanes went in there, and they caused some ruckus getting the victory over the Florida Gators. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. And then Texas A&M, the Aggies had an opportunity to go up against Notre Dame. Notre Dame was on the road visiting Texas A&M, and Notre Dame got the victory 23-13. My buddy is the quarterback, Riley Leonard. Shout out to him, and shout out to the fact that he spent postgame talking about God, talking about Bible verses, and saying God bless you to the people that were there and to the people that were watching. We both picked Texas A&M, and I thought maybe they'd squeak it out. They did not. Syracuse took care of business in Fran Brown's debut as a head coach ever and debut as the Syracuse head coach. And then LSU, we had the Louisiana State Tigers winning their matchup, and LSU, we thought that they would take care of business in one of these last two games that we had here, went with the LSU Tigers to get their victory. And you know, these first couple weeks, taking a look at everything that's been going on inside of college football, these matchups, some of them were outrageous, including the SEC. I think they had 3 or 4 teams win by some ridiculous margin. Well, LSU lost their game inside of the SEC here. They lost to USC 27-20, with Lincoln Riley getting the victory over Brian Kelly, so we got that one wrong. And we picked FSU. A part of me thought this team could be in trouble, but neither one of us went with Boston College. FSU didn't win. So PJ comes out of this one with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He has a record of 4-7. And my record out of this is 6-5. So I got out just barely above 500. PJ's 4-7. Papa Joe, let's go to the Gators first. What the hell is going on with Billy Napier and the Florida Gators?
I don't have enough time in the show, Daniel, to talk about everything I want to talk about.
Yeah.
First of all, let me explain to our folks out there listening to them. You don't go into the swamp and usually win. You know, their percent of winning in the swamp is 94% or something like ridiculous number. I mean, it is a very loud stadium. There's over 90,000 people. And especially with Miami coming in, who we haven't played in a couple of years, and has been a battle over the years. And I'm sure they're going to start playing each other in a home-and-home deal, which I want to see. You've heard me state this fact when it comes to football. You win the line, you win the game on the line of scrimmage. Defensive line or offensive line. That's where you win the game. Florida lost both of those. They couldn't run, except for one explosive play for 71 yards when they caught Miami on off defense. The other times they couldn't, something like 10 out of 10 for 17 yards. You can't do that. And Graham Mertz, quarterback, was sacked a lot, and he got hurt with a concussion, which leads me to DJ Langley, which I'll get to it later. Miami was too strong. The quarterback, Cam Ward, never heard of him before. He was one of those West Coast guys in Washington or Washington State. I can't remember which one. But he certainly looked like Bart Starr out there. I mean, he was threading the needle, ran when he had to, not very long. But Miami was just awesome. I mean, they were big, fast, and strong. And frankly, they beat the poo-poo out of Florida. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, Billy Napier failed on his first really big test this year. Yeah. And, you know, the Blue Gators out there, you know, they're not too patient when it comes to this stuff. They got rid of a lot of coaches since, 3 years gone, Dan Mullen included. So, you know, all I can say is that the future doesn't look bright for Florida. And there's a reason why. I'm going to tell you that in a minute. I have to pull up the screen, though. Finally, we get to see our 5-star quarterback, which is DJ Langley. And this kid is the real deal. I mean, he is exceptionally big, fast, and strong. He has everything that Florida needs to win. And he's got a big arm. He's smart. He's only 18 years old. He's a kid. He was in high school last year. He graduated early, started with Florida in the spring, learned everything. But Billy Napier correctly, you know, chose Graham Mertz to run the team. He's a 6-year senior. Doesn't have any problems. I mean, he doesn't throw long very well. He completed 70% of his passes last year, 20 TDs, 3 interceptions. But Florida lost miserably. against big teams. And Graham Mertz faced a big team this week, and they beat the poo-poo out of him. So in comes Lagway, runs down the field, scores a touchdown, gets a field goal, whatever. He moved the team. He played a quarter and a half. He did a hell of a job. Now, going forward, Florida is playing a cupcake this week. Samford. Not Sanford. Samford. Don't know much about them. They're a small college team. They lost last week to some other team in another conference, and this is a cupcake game. Now, Lagway's going to play. Graham Mertz is not going to play because they're going to keep him out of concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Now, Lagway will probably have a big game, but folks got to remember that this is Samford. This is not LSU or Texas A&M or Florida State. It's Samford. So I want to see how he does. I want to see how he moves the ball, and I'm looking forward to it. And I have to just dismiss the first game. Not only because they played poorly, they were outcoached, they were out-hit, they were outplayed.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a good game. And I thought Miami was going to get the victory. I mean, Miami has had moments where they've been underwhelming, but under Mario Cristobal, the intent was to bring Miami back to a place of prowess, back to a place where they are sitting atop and not looking up, watching everybody go have fun. And I think Mario Cristobal has done a good job of bringing some positivity back. So as we look at it right now, like you said, you got your quarterback situation, and that quarterback situation with Graham Mertz, who transferred in with him being out, and God willing, he'll be okay and heal up quick and stay healed and stay well by the grace of God. That's put us in a place where the Florida Gators can now showcase their guy. And Lagway having the opportunity to go out there and put some work in. DJ Lagway, as you mentioned, getting his first start, which is going to come against Samford. To give some notes here, Coach Billy Napier said this week, Mertz has been unable to practice, but is doing better. Injured late in the third quarter of the 41-17 loss to Miami. Lagway had 3 series, had a touchdown drive, and showed that he could not only throw the ball, but run as well as a dual threat. He finished 3 of 6 for 31 yards with an interception and added 20 yards on the ground. Lagway, the number 8 player in the ESPN 300 and Gatorade's Player of the Year in 2023, is in a position now to bring some positivity at a time where Gator fans, like you said, Bull Gators, are a little bit frustrated. Now, as we go from here, PJ, what were you going to say?
The pressure to win at these high games, high teams, like the LSU's and Florida's and Florida State's and everyone. The pressure to win it's unfathomable.
Yeah.
And of course, the Bull Gators are just having a fit. I know that for a fact because there's plenty of Bull Gators that live in this town right here. But I'm going to throw something at you right here. Florida, by ESPN, has the hardest schedule this year of playing football. Now, they lost to Milan. Now, listen to this. They lost to Miami. They got a 99% chance to win at Sanford. Big deal. Okay. Texas A&M, the win probability is 40%. Mississippi State, 40%. UCF, who is not a very good team, 42%. Tennessee, 12.5%. Kentucky, 45%. Less than 50% against Kentucky.
Yeah.
Georgia, 5.7%. Texas, 5.3%. LSU, 39%. Ole Miss, 20%. And Florida State, 37%. They are not favored to win on any of those teams' games this year. Now, that leads me to believe that they're going to have a poor season, and they probably will. They may beat Kentucky or Mississippi State or something, but they're not going to beat Ole Miss or LSU or Texas A&M. They're not going to meet these big teams, and it's causing a lot of friction already. After one game, they already want to throw Billy Napier out. They're looking to buy him out for $25 million.
Yeah.
So I just recited what I know is the percentages that are played this year, and their win percentage is less than 50% on every one of the games. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Billy Napier question, and the bigger question on this is, why did Florida get rid of Dan Mullen? What was Dan Mullen doing wrong that put them in a situation where they decided they didn't want Dan Mullen? This is something that doesn't make any sense to me. You and I talked about the belief that Dan Mullen could be the change for this team. He had 3 seasons there. You and I said going in, we sat at the kitchen table down in St. Augustine, and we discussed the fact that we believed that he was going to be the one to make the change. And he didn't. I shouldn't say he didn't. He wasn't given the time to make the change. The 3 seasons, which is typical of the SEC, but just strange in normal life, is that you typically don't get much time in the SEC to make change. You get, the window usually is 3 seasons. That's where the window typically resides. It's what Chad Morris was given in Arkansas. It's around the time that Charlie Strong was given at Texas, when we talk about a team that's in the SEC now but was in the Big 12. When we go back to Dan Mullen in Florida, and pardon me here, he was there for 4 years, not 3. He went 10-3, 11-2, 8-4, 5-6. They didn't let him finish out the 2021 season, only let him have 11 games. But 10-3, won the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which is a New Year's Six Bowl, which is one of the top 6 bowls in the nation. Then he won the Orange Bowl the next year, which is a New Year's Six Bowl, which is one of the top 6 bowls in the nation. So in 4 seasons in Florida, he had 2 seasons of 10 wins or better and 2 New Year's Six Bowl victories, where some teams have never even played in a New Year's Six Bowl, let alone win it. What did Dan Mullen do to lose his job, PJ? Because you and I spoke about when he went in, we are on record saying that we believed in Dan Mullen from the beginning. We said it before we saw it. And then Florida, as a university, allegedly didn't see enough. So they let him go. And they brought in Billy Napier, which I never was really sold on that working out. What are your thoughts about the Dan Mullen conundrum of going to 2 New Year's Six Bowls, winning them both back-to-back, and starting off his time in Florida with a record of 21-5?
He just lost the team, and then he pissed some people off. So they had no choice but to get rid of him. But Napier was supposed to be the hot guy. He was like 40-12 at Louisiana, which is a small school. But he recruited well. He did well. Look, Napier's a nice man. He's a smart man. He recruited well for Florida, and this year, especially the 23, getting the best quarterback in the nation to come to Florida. He did that, and he's not putting the X's and O's together. He brought in another different defensive coordinator. I can't even remember his name now. Well, whatever Billy's doing, it's not working. So the Bull Gators are saying, listen, Billy, try something different. Do something different. Don't do what you're doing.
Yeah.
That come down. And he said, Steve Spurrier even said that. He said that on the radio. He says, Billy, you've got to do something different. because what you're doing isn't working. So look for Billy Napier this week against an inferior opponent to really lay it out there. I mean, he's probably gonna dance it all up with his quarterback, and his linebackers are gonna be blitzing every other player or something like that. So something's got to happen, and that's what's going to happen. From Steve Spurrier, it's got to be different.
Yeah, I mean, like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. When we look at Dan Mullen, 10-3, 11-2, 8-4, 5-6 in his almost a full 4 seasons at Florida. When we look at Billy Napier's coaching history at Florida, when we break down what he looks like there, Billy Napier in 2 seasons, 6-7, 5-7, and now has started out 0-1. So my question, and I understand hindsight's 2020, but PJ, if Dan Mullen gets fired in a season where he's 5-6, and Billy Napier takes over, and they go 6-7 and 5-7, do you not think that the Bull Gators and the people with the money that are helping with the buyout, that those boosters aren't sitting there thinking they made a mistake? Did the boosters, did the people in the clamoring and frustration with Dan Mullen, did they make a mistake? Giving up a 5-6 coach for a coach that's 6-7 and 5-7. Dan Mullen had a lot of wins. Dan Mullen had 2 big-time bowl victories. Billy Napier has not had a winning season in Florida. So hindsight 2020, did the Bull Gators make a mistake?
I would have to say now, yes. I didn't think so earlier. After the second season, I thought maybe that he would not wake up, but we would see tangible results, and we're not seeing that. And it's quite obvious that it's quite obvious to me, and maybe to some other people at football, is that he's in over his head. Running an NAIA program at Louisiana is a hell of a lot different than coming to Florida. But he had the credentials. He's an affable guy. He talks well. He looks well. He just doesn't have it. And that's all I can say. I mean, I'm hoping for his sake and for Florida's sake, they don't crash him out in the middle of the year. Please, let the team play out. If the team winds up 1-10, well, okay, 1-10. You fire him and you bring in someone else. Don't do it in the middle of the year like FSU did. I don't like that. I don't want to see that. The team will play hard for Billy probably because they know he's going to lose his job. There's no other way to say it. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, my opinion is that they're going to bring in someone else. And the person I think they're going to bring in is probably someone most of the football people don't know. His name is Jed Fish. He's a head coach at Washington.
Yeah.
He's also a Florida alumnus. He's been in and out. He's been in professional football and college football for over 20 years. He's got a great offensive mind. Worked for 4 or 5 different, even worked for Jaguars for a while. Jed Fish, head coach at Washington University of Washington. So if they dump Napier at the end of the year, in my opinion, he's the first person they'll call. And he's only been, this is his first year at Washington. He came from Arizona where he resurrected that team. So this is a guy that's high on my radar, and I'm hoping he's the one they bring in, because it's not going to be Billy.
Yeah, interesting here, and we put up some polls.
That's hard for me to say, Daniel.
No,
That's hard for me to say. Not going to be Billy. That's hard for me.
What do you like about Billy Napier?
He's just a nice guy. He talks well. He should listen to his press conferences. He knows what he's talking about, and he seems to know what he's doing, but he's not putting that to the field. I don't know why. Now, would I like to see a few upsets this year? Sure. I don't want to look through that schedule that I just read you and said that every team that they play, they have a less than 50% chance winning against all of them. That's unacceptable.
Yeah. It is, and it's frustrating, and you know, it's unfortunate because again, you know, and I try to dance lightly when these conversations because I do not wish bad on anyone. I never have. I never will. And I don't want to see somebody lose their job. I put up the polls of do you think they're gonna, you know, be the coach at the end of the season? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? But in no way, shape, or form is it me wanting to put bad energy or hoping they're conversation pieces, but it's sad for me. I don't like seeing it. I don't like seeing coaches let go. I mean, I'm Fran Brown, him and I have a good relationship. I also have a good relationship with Dino. So I wasn't happy of the departure of Dino, but I'm hopeful of Fran Brown. It's a difficult dance, and when you do what I do for a living, you see how much of a business this world actually is, especially in sports, and it's cutthroat at times. Now, I put polls up while we were talking. There's a bunch of polls for you to vote in. Will the New York Mets make the 2024 NL Wild Card? Early voting is a quote from PJ. No. The next one up here, who's the better team between the Phillies or the Dodgers? That poll is up for you to vote in. Will Billy Napier still be the head coach of the Florida Gators in the final week of the 2024 college football regular season? All of the votes that have come in, no. Will their football program bounce back after starting 0-2? That poll just went up. And Florida Gators fans, do you want to see Dan Mullen return as your head coach? And I gave you his records of 10-3, 11-2, 8-4, and 5-6. You could vote in every single one of these polls by going to X, the former Twitter, at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Click follow and vote now. So PJ, let's go to the other part of Florida. Let's travel up from Gainesville to Tallahassee and speak on the Florida State Seminoles, who started off their season with a loss to Georgia Tech. Something inside of me told me to pick Georgia Tech. And in the 11th hour, I picked Florida State. To remind yourself of what I was told when I was back in school, trust your first instinct answer. So they lose to Georgia Tech in a neutral game in Ireland. After losing to Georgia Tech in Ireland, the Florida State Seminoles come back home to Tallahassee. Now, years ago, when I was waiting for one of my nephews to be born, that being Mr. Eli, shout out to Kirsten and Brandon and the whole family. When I was waiting for him to be born, I was sitting in the waiting room watching a football game. That football game was Boston College, who I believe at the time was visiting Florida State. Now, Boston College under Steve Adazio had hung with Florida State at times, had made the game interesting, maybe for a quarter, maybe for a half, but didn't finish it out. This time around, Boston College grabbed Florida State by the neck, and they held on. They did not let go. They did not get soft. They didn't rest in their laurels. They didn't buy into, oh, we're doing really well, and then kind of lose themselves. The Boston College Eagles were able to go to Tallahassee, take a knee, and walk out of there and say, here's your football back, even though we didn't give it to you that many times during the game. PJ, Florida State is 0-2. Not only are they 0-2 overall, but they're 0-2 in their conference. The first two games of the season against Georgia Tech and Boston College count in the ACC. So they are 0% in the ACC and 0% in the nation. What is going on in Florida State, and can they turn it around?
Same thing that I professed about Florida. How do you win these games? You win the games at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Your offensive line and your defensive line. Boston College pushed Florida State all over the field. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe it was Florida State that was actually getting pushed around like this. And then I thought Bill O'Brien, the coach of Boston College, well, hell, he's a hell of a coach, you know. And he is. And that's going to be good for Boston College. But you got to go back to the last game of the season when Florida State was in a bowl, when they were overlooked for a championship round, and they played Georgia. And that game was 61-3 or something like that. And I understand that 8 or 10 of the Florida State guys had already transferred out before the bowl game because they weren't going to have their quarterback, Travis Jordan, because of a broken leg. That there told me something about Mike Norvell. Why didn't he try to keep these kids? Well, he didn't keep these kids. He wound up having a decent recruiting year. He's number 18 in the list. Florida's number 23. But the team that he brings in transfer players, and nothing's working for him. Now you got to remember that Mike Norvell came from Memphis, and you've always liked Mike Norvell. I know that, and I knew a lot about him from talking to you. And then when he got the Florida State job, well, you and I said it's going to take him 3 or 4 years to get there, and he did. He got there, but now it's gone again. Why is that? I can't answer that because I'm not a Florida State man, but I can tell by looking at him that he got his butt beat on the line of scrimmage. He got pushed around. Boston College ran for almost 200 yards. DJ whoever the hell his quarterback is, he's not going to make it at Florida State. They got 3 redshirts. We had a redshirt freshman and 2 freshmen to back him up.
Yep.
So what does Mike Norvell do? I mean, he's really under it. You think Billy Napier's under it? Norvell is, Florida State doesn't care if they can a guy in the middle of the year. They did that with Willie Taggart. They don't care. If Mike Norvell doesn't work in the next 3-4 weeks, his ass is gone. I don't care how good he is.
Yeah, and here's the thing. And this is this is the issue. This is the overall issue of college football and the unfairness of it, which I've talked about at length over the years. Mike Norvell comes in from Memphis, and I spent 4 years covering him the entire time he was at Memphis. And I've spent the entire time that he's at Florida State covering him as well. Mike Norvell, with everything that they've been through at Florida State, remember, they brought in Willie Taggart. Willie Taggart came in after Jimbo Fisher, and it seems like maybe Jimbo knew there were some problems there, and Jimbo got out. And Willie Taggart, I will never forget, I was on a teleconference with him through the ACC, and thank you to the ACC for that. And I was talking to Willie Taggart, and he said, I got to find out who in my locker room wants to actually be here. I got to figure out which guys want to be a part of this team. And that was a few weeks in. And then he got let go. Because apparently he got blamed for it. He wasn't even given 2 years. He was given 1.5 years, year and some change. Then you bring in Mike Norvell. And PJ and I both told you, don't say anything. Don't freak out. Just let him work. Let him cook. Let him do his job. Because he will. And he did. And his team went undefeated last season. And then they did something that they wouldn't do to Notre Dame. They wouldn't do to Alabama. They wouldn't do to Ohio State. They wouldn't do to Georgia. But they did it to Florida State. You're undefeated. Now remember, they won that ACC championship game without Jordan Travis. So they proved that they could win a game without their quarterback. Wasn't pretty, but they won. Because PJ said, you do it in the trenches. And those guys got after it, and that defense got after it. Undefeated ACC team, go kick rocks. College football playoff, that's the message that they sent. Go kick rocks. And when Jordan Travis was injured, and it had none of his control a part of it, he has to watch from the sideline as his team gets punished for his injury that he could not control. What college football doesn't understand, and the College Football Playoff Committee doesn't understand, is that when you did that to Florida State, you didn't affect them last season. You affected them last season, this season, and maybe seasons in the future, because when people watched that, they thought, should I go to Florida State? Or should I go to another school? And there were guys that transferred out of Florida State. Transferred out when they found out they weren't going to be in the college football playoff. So you didn't steal from Mike Norvell, Florida State, and the fans and the people of Tallahassee. You didn't steal from them just a place in the college football playoff, which many undeserving teams have gotten. But you took from them student athletes, because the ripple effect of the decision that was made affected decisions down the line. And Mike Norvell is going to be blamed for these decisions, even though none of them were under his control. So is Mike Norvell the problem? I don't believe so. Is Jordan Travis the problem on an injury that he could not control? No. But this team has suffered last season into this season. I'm going to tell you something. I did not pick Florida State to win the conference like the majority of the ACC media. Now, we get to vote in the poll. And every single year, there's a preseason poll, and we vote for a bunch of things, including predicted order of finish. Then we vote for the ACC championship, and we vote for the winner. I did not pick Florida State. The majority of my peers in the media picked Florida State. The team that they picked second in a majority was Clemson. I picked Clemson first. Now, I know that Clemson lost to Georgia, and Dabo Swinney put that on him. And I commend him for that. And I commend Dabo Swinney for a lot of things, because his faith in God takes precedence over everything, and I deeply respect that. Now, why did I not pick Florida State when the majority of the media picked Florida State? I did not pick Florida State because I am not having the Seminole hangover. The belief that this team should be there because they got screwed last year. That this team should be there because I feel bad for Jordan Travis. I have to let that go. That team and what they achieved last year has nothing to do with this year. They don't have the same quarterback. And ultimately, with no offense to him whatsoever, DJ Uiagalelei was in Clemson for a couple seasons, and it didn't work. And he went off to Oregon State. And coming to Florida State, I said to myself, I can't ride with DJ. I'm not going to get bit twice. And I don't think it's going to work out. And even if it does work out to a certain extent, he hasn't been with Florida State. This is new for him. Yeah, he's been in college football for a bunch of years, but he hasn't been at Florida State. And not everybody can translate. Dylan Gabriel. Talk about him, folks. Dylan Gabriel was at UCF, and nobody wanted to talk about this guy. Jason Lucas and I did. Then he went to Oklahoma, and all of a sudden, it's like they just discovered him as a quarterback. Now he's at Oregon, and everybody's talking about Dylan Gabriel. So some guys can bounce around and get it done. DJ Uiagalelei, I trusted my gut, and my gut said to me, if this guy can't figure it out, Florida State is not going to get it done. They don't have Jordan Travis anymore. Yes, it's sad. Yes, it's unfortunate. Yes, I wish he had another year, and I'm sure he did too. But the reality of it all is Florida State has a different guy under center, and the guys backing him up are a redshirt freshman that barely played last year, who is the third-string quarterback, and two true freshmen. And I'm telling you this right now, Mike Norvell might have to go to them by week 4, because this is something that you have to stop the bleeding on. Guess who they're playing this week, PJ? Guess who they're hosting? Mike Norvell's former team, the Memphis Tigers, and Ryan Silverfield, who I interviewed going into the season, and I talked to about this game. If you think that Florida State's got a cakewalk against Memphis, against a fan base that's upset that he left, you got another thing coming. Tallahassee is going to have some claw marks in them no matter what happens in that game. So, PJ, Florida State, I didn't buy into the DJ Uiagalelei. I didn't buy into they should have been in last year, so they're going to get in this year. I didn't vote with the majority of the ACC media because to me, there wasn't enough there to state that Florida State was going to make it. But in saying that, I will say this. Mike Norvell is not a bad coach, and this is not all of his fault.
True. But he's the man in charge, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to say he could be overwhelmed like Billy Napier is, but Norvell did have 3 years to get things right, and he certainly got things right last year. They had a sensational quarterback. What a terrible thing that happened to that kid. He's actually trying to make the pros. I think he's at the Jets. I think I'm not sure, but
yeah, he is.
It's not going to be easier for Florida State either, because there's some other teams, NC State and North Carolina and Miami especially. They got to play. FSU's got to play at Miami.
Yeah.
Now that is going to be an ugly game. Of course, they got to play Clemson. Clemson's not as bad as everyone says they are, but Dabo Swinney does have some problems, and it's his own fault. He's got his problems, in my opinion. You want to talk about that now?
Yeah, we can talk about Dabo Swinney in a second. I do want to make a note here on Florida State. And you think about it, if Mike Norvell and his team made it to the college football playoff, which they earned the right to do last year, with or without their starting quarterback, if they had made it to the college football playoff, we're not talking about any of this. We're not talking about any of this if they made it to the college football playoff. That's how crazy this is, that the college football playoff selection committee literally could be a part in Mike Norvell's future with Florida State. They can play a role in this because now he's on a potential hot seat. Now he knows that things are heating up here. Yet, if he had made it to the college football playoff last year and they lost without Jordan Travis, then I think people would probably lay off a little bit. Now, if they start the season 0-2, but here's the other thing. If they had made it to the college football playoff, would those guys have transferred? And if those guys didn't transfer, then where are we now? Keep in mind, Florida State has a bunch of guys that left. There's a bunch of guys that are in the NFL right now. You got one of their DBs with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You got one of their defensive linemen, Jared Verse, is out there in the NFL now. I mean, this is not a team that, it's not just Jordan Travis that's gone, but I'm just saying this. The College Football Playoff Selection Committee has some responsibility in where Mike Norvell is right now. Because if they had made it to the college football playoff, then he might have a little more slack than he's got at this moment, instead of people potentially turning on him in the program. Now, like PJ said, like I made mention of it, their schedule, they're hosting Memphis. Ryan Silverfield knows Mike Norvell, and they have every intent to go in there and get this victory. And you know those Tigers fans are going to be very, very energized for this game because Mike Norvell was a hell of a coach for them, and who knows where they would be if he was still there. No disrespect to Ryan Silverfield, because Memphis was picked to win the AAC, and I think Ryan Silverfield and this team might have a really good thing going on, and this is why this week, starting 0-2 and hosting Memphis, not a good thing for Florida State. Then you got Cal, who's coming to you, which is a good thing, but Cal has, I think they might be a little bit better than people give them credit for. Then they go on the road to Dallas to face off against SMU, who's in their first season in the ACC, and SMU bounced back in that game against Nevada. They started off the season 2-0 so far. Then you host Clemson, and we'll see where Clemson's at that point on October 5th. Then you go to Duke with new head coach Manny Diaz. You go to Miami, as PJ mentioned. You play against North Carolina, which those games have been fun, and North Carolina's played spoiler in Florida State situations before. Then you go to Notre Dame. Then you have Charleston Southern, who I didn't know was a football school until now. And then you have the Gators. So you talk about the Gators, PJ, not being favored to win in their games. I think the Memphis game, the SMU game, the Duke game, the Miami game, the North Carolina game, and the Notre Dame game, that's 6 games that they have. So of the 12 that they play and the 2 that are already done, of the 10 that remain, 60% of those games, at least, I think could go in the direction of the other team. And if we're talking about that being something that happens, we're talking about a 4-8 season for Florida State.
Wow. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I didn't realize that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, at best maybe 6 and 7 or something like that, 7 and 6. But Florida State fans don't have a lot of patience up there either.
No.
So I hope they don't do anything stupid. I mean, let the man coach. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
He proved it. Just leave him alone. Let him coach. I said he's got a good recruiting class coming in. This is number 18. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, let's hit with this, PJ, before we make our picks for college football week 2 and for NFL week 1, which I can't believe we're doing, but we're in the first week of the NFL starting tonight with the Ravens at the Chiefs for Thursday Night Football, which will be on NBC this evening in primetime football. Clemson, you wanted to speak on Clemson. They have had one game this season. The game was played on neutral ground. It was at the Aflac kickoff game, which is run by Peach Bowl, Inc. Peach Bowl, Inc. oversees the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, New Year's Six Bowl, which is now always going to be a part of the road to the national champion in the college football playoff, either as a quarterfinal or a semifinal game. They will be hosting the national championship in that same arena, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, at the end of this season. And they have the Aflac kickoff game, which used to be called the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. And, of course, they were an integral part of bringing the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta. All of this is down in Atlanta. All of this is overseen by Gary Stoken, a good friend of mine at Peach Bowl Inc., Matt Garvey, and the whole crew that's there. So Clemson faced off against the Georgia Bulldogs. And Clemson lost the game on neutral ground at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which was a home game for Georgia, arguably, because Georgia was playing in the state of Georgia. So looking at that game, PJ, 34-3, what are your thoughts on Clemson? Are you worried? Are you concerned? Where are things at right now? It's only one game, but did that one game put you in a position of concern for the Tigers?
Yes, it does. There's some reasons for that.
Yeah.
But again, we're going back to the old offensive line, defensive line thing. Georgia just pushed them all over the field. We weren't looking at the real Clemson team. That I can tell you. I don't know why, but we weren't looking at the real Clemson team. Is Georgia that good? Probably. Is Carson that real good? He is real good. He's been good last year, and he's going to be good this year, too. But the thing that bothers me about Dabo Swinney is that he's a good coach. He's a real good coach. He's a hell of an innovator. He talks kids into coming there. The only thing that he doesn't do, that he's being criticized for, and justifiably so, is that he doesn't profess to like the transfer portal. He doesn't take any kids from the transfer portal. Now, kids transfer out, but he doesn't bring anyone in. He has not had a kid from the transfer portal in his last 2 years. Now, when you come from a big conference like the ACC, you got to have players.
Yeah.
He wants to bring his players in as freshmen. He wants to let them grow and this and that. I said, that's fine, that's great. Except with the rest of the country ain't doing that, Dabo, because the rest of the country are taking your players and putting them in their teams and winning. So if you don't want to do that, you're going to lose. So I'm pretty sure that at the end of this year, I think you're probably going to see Dabo Swinney go into the transfer portal. So if he's got that's an old-fashioned attitude he's got. And with these new fashion plays, with the NIL and all this stuff all over the country, we've said before, a kid can play 4 years at 4 different schools. That's ridiculous. It's terrible. But, Dabo, you got to wake up, bud, because you're not going to lose without the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, he has been old-fashioned, and I commend him for doing what he's doing to make sure he takes care of the kids that are coming through high school and prep school. And, I don't knock him for that in any way, shape, or form. I think most coaches would tell you that the way that they treat the transfer portal and typical regular recruiting high school and prep school is that they try to balance. And some years it's going to be 50-50. In some years, the recruiting transfer portal to true freshmen is going to be 60-40, 70-30. If you take over a program late, it might be 90-10 or 80-20. Cal has done that with Justin Wilcox. They've taken a ton of transfers. Syracuse did it with Fran Brown coming in. You know, he went and got after the transfer portal and took a lot of transfers and brought a lot of transfers in, including the starting quarterback. You know, but you look at what they've done. Kyle McCord, look at what he did in game 1. 4 touchdowns, 354 yards passing. You look at Zeed Haynes coming from Georgia, huge reception. He was interfered with, still caught the ball, 42-yard gain. You see Jackson Meeks lay his body out on the line to get a 35-yard grab in single coverage. I mean, these guys that have come onto the team have an immediate impact. Fidel Diggs had 2 sacks in his first game at Syracuse. So there's a reason why people go into the transfer portal. But I commend that Dabo Swinney is trying to take care of the true freshmen and the prep schools. And I feel like it's kind of navigating both, right? It's like I said, sometimes it's 50-50, 60-40, 80-20. But you try to balance and bring in some transfers and at the same time true freshmen and prep school kids and that become, obviously, high school and prep school that become true freshmen. Now, looking at the rest of Clemson's schedule, they have App State, and we know that Appalachian State does not go easy on anybody. They play spoiler all the time. That game is at home in Death Valley for the Tigers. Then they'll be at home against NC State, who always gives them hell, and Dave Doran and the team don't get enough credit for that. Then they're at home again against Stanford. Look at this. 3 home games in a row. Are they Ohio State? This is crazy. So they get 3 home games in a row. Then they go to Florida State. Then they go to Wake Forest, who's no slouch. We'll see how they do, though. And then you have Virginia, which is a game that I would say they should win. You have Louisville, who is a team under Jeff Brown that's done some good things in a short amount of time with his return to Louisville, his alma mater. Then you have at Virginia Tech, who stumbled in their first week. At Pittsburgh, who I think may be in the last few teams of the ACC this year. Then you have the Citadel at home, and then you have South Carolina at home. I mean, Clemson on paper doesn't have as difficult a season as other teams in the ACC. But what do you think, PJ? I mean, I can argue right now that if Clemson figures it out and the offensive defensive line in the trenches gets their work done, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could see Clemson at least get to 7 wins, 7-5, maybe 8-4. They can obviously do better than that, but I would say maybe 8-4 is safe. What do you think?
Well, this is the conference the way it's going, and rest assured, fans, it's only been 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I mean we're trying to figure this thing out for the rest of the year, and it's not easy to do. What has happened is with Clemson and Florida State laying a couple of bad eggs, it looks like Miami looks like a world beater.
Yeah.
Miami can walk right in and take the entire conference with, say, a 9-3 record or an 8-3 record or something like that, because the rest of these teams aren't going to win. Clemson, you're right. Clemson's not going to. They'll win maybe more than 7 games, probably, maybe 8, but that's not going to win a conference. And Florida State's going to have to win, I don't know, the rest of their games to even try to get into the conference championship. So, it's not going to be easy for these teams. I think it looks wide open for Miami. I'm not talking about NC State or North Carolina, Virginia, any of these teams. I don't know much about those teams, but I do know about Miami.
Yeah, so we shall see. It's very, very early on, but unfortunately, now here's the other thing, though. The college football playoff has expanded to 12 this year. If it was still at 4, then Clemson might be out of it with a 31-point loss to Georgia, and Florida State would definitely be out of it for the most part unless everybody else faltered. So that's just a note to put in your back pocket. Remember that there's 8 extra spots in the college football playoff now. So that's something to pay attention to. Now, with that being said here, I want to take a look at our college football picks for week 2 as well as our NFL week 1. We'll do that after we take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning with Papa Joe, worldwide with you. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us. We'll be back with our college football Week 2 picks in just a moment.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're gonna be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever gonna have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Yeah. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You know it's Thursday, which means it's the PJ Takeover, and Papa Joe and I are speaking on so many different things. And right now, from Major League Baseball to our college football Week 1 recap of picks, we're now into Week 2. The screen is up on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. So you're going to see me write the picks in as we do them. And, of course, you are listening on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, internet streaming radio all over the world. So thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call. We appreciate you so very much. PJ, let's pop into it here. We're going to go into our college football picks, and we're going to start things off here with a Friday night game. There's no Thursday games tonight. It's just the NFL tonight. So on Friday, September 6th, BYU at SMU. Give me your pick. It'll be on ESPN2. Brigham Young is in their first season in the Big 12. SMU is in their first season in the ACC. And both of these schools could have been in the same conference, arguably, at one point. One is off on the West Coast and one is down in Texas. The game will be played in Dallas, Texas at Gerald J. Ford Stadium for Southern Methodist. Who do you have, BYU at SMU?
I like SMU.
Yeah, I'm going with SMU in this game as well. They've started off this season 2-0, and I have told people that SMU is no slouch, and Rhett Lashley and what he's been doing. So I give credit where credit is due, and I am going SMU. Next game that we have here, PJ, will take us into Saturday. Automatically, Michigan finally is playing a team that is going to push them a little bit. They're not cakewalking through 10 weeks. Now, when I say cakewalking, people go, oh, Dan, they still got to play the game. Yeah. Well, when you play a bunch of unranked teams, I'd rather play unranked teams than ranked teams. Rather play teams that are at the bottom of the conference than at the top of the conference. Well, guess what? Michigan, if they win this game, then we can talk about, all right, this team's pretty good. Because they're going to get a test this week. They're playing at home. But in Ann Arbor, Michigan, guess who they're bringing in? Not East Bumbletucky, not the Sisterhood of the Poor, not the University of Pennsylvania, Indiana, Kentucky via Nova Scotia. They're not bringing in some Canadian team you've never heard of. They're bringing in Texas. Texas at Michigan. PJ, noon, Fox, Saturday, September 7th. The lowest price ticket is almost $200. Who do you got?
That's true, $191. I see that. I was very impressed with Texas last week, and they've all winter long, or all summer long, they've been touted to be one of the top teams in the nation, and I don't think that's going to change with this game. I like Texas.
Y'all don't mess with Texas. I'm going with the Texas Longhorns to come into Michigan. And like I said, Michigan typically being set up for the college football playoff ranking-wise at the beginning of the season has an unfair advantage with a 2 or 3 ranking year in and year out, no matter what their schedule is. Now they have a test. Now it's time to show. Can the Wolverines defeat the Longhorns? I'm picking Texas on the road. Texas in their first season in the SEC. Excited for this game. Next game we have up here, PJ, is going to bring us to, I'm going through a few of these right now. Which one do I want to circle? Let's go Baylor at Utah. Keep in mind, this is a Big 12 game. Baylor, who's in the Big 12, and Utah, who just joined the Big 12 from the Pac-12. So this is actually a conference game in the Big 12, believe it or not. The game is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Utah is ranked in the top 11. Baylor is unranked. Baylor at Utah. PJ, what do you got?
Well, frankly, they'd be kind of even teams, but because Utah is playing at home, and they are ranked number 11, I see that, and this is a good chance for them to shine on national television. I like Utah.
Yeah, this one, I mean, could Baylor play a spoiler in this game? Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this game gets close at certain points, but I'm going to go ahead and go Utah as well in this matchup against Baylor. Being at home, I'm going to give them a slight edge here to get the victory and come through this one in their first season in the Big 12. Next one that we got up, PJ, South Carolina at Kentucky. The game is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC and ESPN+. Neither team is ranked. However, it is a battle of the SEC. What do you got?
Well, Kentucky's played well the last couple of years, and they've really done well, beating Florida. So, although it's not much, I like Kentucky here at home.
Yeah, South Carolina at Kentucky once again. Kentucky is a team playing at home. I give them a slight edge. I also give them an edge in the fact that they have been a team that has proven that Kentucky is not just a basketball school. That's what a lot of people thought for many years, and Kentucky, like Kansas, struggled in football. But Kentucky has found a way to play spoiler, and early on in the season, we see a team that's building up momentum for some of these games they're going to play against ranked teams. Kentucky's a dangerous team, and I'm going to have them win this one. Next game that we have up, PJ, is going to be South Florida at Alabama. Now, South Florida last year hosted Alabama in this non-conference series. South Florida kept Alabama under 20 points and made this game a lot closer than I think the Crimson Tide fans wanted to be. Now, the Tide still rolled in the game, but it was a low-scoring affair that showed that South Florida in their first season under Alex Golish could be moving in the right direction. Now South Florida is going to Alabama. Any chance at 7 p.m. on ESPN this Saturday that South Florida gets a victory?
No, I don't think so, but I do remember the game you mentioned. South Florida really gave it to Alabama. In the rain, if I remember right. Alabama is, I know they're a proven commodity. I know that they're one of the best teams in the country. And I'm just watching the Kalen DeBoer very closely to see what he does. I've read a lot of articles, including one from Nick Saban, saying that this guy's the real deal. I'm anxious to see what he does against good teams. I don't see him having a problem with this game. Easy. I think they wins easy. But he's under a microscope this year.
Yeah. Fly slamma jamma bama. People are paying attention to Kalen DeBoer. They came out and they put up 60+ in a game that people anticipated they were going to win. Now they're going to have more of a challenge with a team that returns a bunch of their players. USF, not a bad team. USF moving in the right direction. But ultimately, for me, I'm going to give Kalen DeBoer the edge in this game. However, do not count out USF. Do not count out South Florida and the work that they've been doing in a very short amount of time under Alex Golish. I believe that this team could do some good things in the American this year, and I'm excited to see this game. Next game up is at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC this Saturday, September 7th. And that game is an interesting game because people alleged that Dave Doran might leave NC State for Tennessee. But he stayed the head coach of NC State. I've built a great relationship with Dave Doran over a decade plus. And in this matchup, the team people thought he might leave for and the team that he coaches for are playing each other in Raleigh, North Carolina. Tennessee is ranked in the top 15. NC State's ranked in the top 25. Who wins when Tennessee comes into town to face off against NC State?
It's going to be a real good game. Real good game. I think Tennessee's a little too strong this time of the year.
So PJ going with an edge here for Tennessee in this matchup. I am going to. Oh, this is a tough one for me. I'm going to give. I got to trust my gut on this. I'm going to give a slight edge to Tennessee despite being the road team. I like NC State. I like the work that Dave Doran's done over the years, but I got to trust my gut. And my gut's going to lean a little bit in the direction of Tennessee, like you said, strong. And we'll see. They're a team that had an opportunity for the college football playoff a few years ago. I think they knew that, and now they got to fight for this. And pardon me on this. This game is actually going to be played at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, the home of the Carolina Panthers, not in Raleigh, North Carolina. So my apologies on that note. But that game is going to be NC State with Tennessee coming in to the state of North Carolina. This we talked about a little bit, PJ, but I think that this is a potential trip-em game. Appalachian State at Clemson. What do you got?
I don't see this being a contest at all, Daniel. I think that Clemson will be ready to play this week, and I think we're going to see a good quarterback. Hubert, he got his butt beat last week. He didn't play that bad, but they just were overwhelmed by a superior team. And I think that they bounced back really good this week, Clemson.
PJ going with the Clemson Tigers. I'm also going to go with Clemson here. Appalachian State, year in and year out, likes to play spoiler, but I think Dabo Swinney is going to have his guys fired up to make a statement to the country. And so I'm going to go ahead and go. What'd you say? What'd you say, PJ?
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, I think they're going to. Yeah, I think they're going to be fired up. I think they're going to make a statement, so I'm going to go ahead and go with Clemson in this matchup. The next one that we have up, Boise State at Oregon. As I mentioned earlier, Dylan Gabriel's in his first season with his third team, and that's the Oregon Ducks. And Boise State is a team that some people projected could make the college football playoff this year. Boise State at Oregon. What do you got?
Oregon's way too tough for this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with Oregon as well in this matchup. I am excited for people to see Dylan Gabriel. For those of you that didn't pay attention to him at UCF because he was at UCF and then started to pay attention because he was at Oklahoma and now are paying attention because he's at Oregon, some of us gave credit where credit was due a long time ago. Shout out to Dylan Gabriel. Go have fun playing around the yard, slinging it over the weekend. No offense to Boise State whatsoever. I want to see their talent. I want to see them do well. I have a lot of respect for Dylan Gabriel on the other side, so I'm going to give them an edge here. Next game that we have up, PJ, before we head off to the NFL, is going to be a couple games that we have here, and I have to get to your Go Gators. So the Gators game that's coming up, as we had made mention of this week, putting yourself in a situation to hopefully make a statement of some positives, give the fans something to cheer about, something to get excited for. And that game is going to be Sanford at Florida, 7 p.m. Eastern Time in the Swamp in Gainesville. It's on ESPN Plus and the SEC Network. Who do you got?
Well, certainly it shouldn't be a contest. I mean, Florida's superior athletes, I'm sure. And to make things even worse, Daniel, you can go watch Florida for $9 a ticket. How's that?
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you the Swamp, which holds 90,000 people, I'll guarantee you there's going to be there'll be half empty seats for $9 a ticket.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Fans are frustrated, and this game is not a game that they're going to necessarily get up for. I live in a different world. I get up for every game. Why do I get up for every game? Because every game's a blessing. I'm going with the Florida Gators in the Swamp to get the dub. Syracuse has a big old test in Fran Brown's second ever game as a head coach and second game leading the Orange. That test is that top 25 ranked, and I think they're ranked too low at 23, top 25 ranked 2-0 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are coming into town to face off against the Orange. The Orange won their game against the first team that they had this season, which was the Ohio Bobcats, but the transfer from Northwestern in the Big Ten, Anthony Tyus III, ran for 203 yards on just 16 carries, averaging 12.7 yards a carry. Syracuse has to figure out how to stop the run, going up against a team like Georgia Tech, who's going to want to run the rock, and Haynes King, who is a quarterback that is definitely going to keep them on their toes. This team has had themselves success. They've done a good job, and they've put themselves in a position where Brent Key and the crew are not the Georgia Tech that you thought of in the past. PJ, Georgia Tech at Syracuse, noon.
Georgia Tech's going to run like hell.
Okay, yeah, so who do you got?
I still like Syracuse. I want to see them do well this year, and I want to see Fran get off to a good start. So let's hope that they do it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Syracuse Orange in this matchup, but this is going to be a true test of the mettle of this defense early, of how these transfers, returners, and freshmen gel together, and how rocking the dome can be in a game like this. They need the fans there. And this game, once again, is going to be at noon Eastern time on the ACC network. This game should be on ABC or ESPN, in my opinion. It's going to be on the ACC network, and you can alleviate what channel it's on by just going to the game and coming to the Dome. Head off to the Dome, and you can go see Syracuse host Georgia Tech in the noon hour. That'll be this Saturday, September 7th. With that being said, PJ and I are going to take our final step aside. We'll be back with the NFL picks for Week 1 right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is our sports card and trading card shop of choice. There is no place that I would rather go to and spend my time. I went out there yesterday and got my first Caleb Williams card of the Chicago Bears world, and you can definitely check that out in my collection. I'll be posting it on our social media. Love the stuff that I get at GG Cards and Breaks, from singles to graded cards, packs, and boxes. I have so many things from GG Cards and Breaks. It's brought out the kid in me and given me the opportunity to make new memories with my mom, my dad, my friends, and people that I just genuinely care about. So I can't thank them enough for the fact that they have made this such an awesome experience. And you can go and experience what it's like to be at GG Cards and Breaks by heading out there Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. I implore you to go out there and see the absolute wonderful, wonderful staff and just great overall experience at GG Cards and Breaks. There's nothing like it. There's collecting sports cards and trading cards, and then there's going out and being with people that have such a great passion for it and just love the community and love seeing people win and love seeing people have fun. So make sure you head out to GG Cards and Breaks. Let them know that DT sent you, and I can't wait to see what you get. So hopefully you get some great stuff, and we will definitely be going out there very soon because they got the new Disney Lorcana Shimmering Skies set, and that hasn't been as easy to find. So make sure you head out to GG Cards and Breaks today. You never know what's going to be there today and not tomorrow. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. With that being said, PJ and I are back to make our NFL picks. So we're going to jump right in there. Our college football picks, as you can see on your screen, are up. These are our first picks of the 2024-25 season. NFL Week 1 starts officially tonight, believe it or not. It is here. The NFL, you have to wait no longer. My wonderful, wonderful football fans. You get to see Baltimore at Kansas City at the GEHA field at Arrowhead Stadium. And that is tonight, Thursday, September 5th at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC, as well as their streaming service, Peacock. There's going to be a Friday game on Peacock as well, and that game is Green Bay at Philadelphia, which is a Friday night game at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time that will be played in Brazil in Corinthians Arena in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So a lot of great stuff coming up here, PJ. Let's start with tonight's game, and welcome, first and foremost, PJ, to the NFL season as we get ready for this together. Our NFL Week 1 picks and analysis begin with Thursday Night Football happening tonight, and that being the Ravens visiting the Chiefs. Who you got, PJ?
Boy, what a way to start the year off, huh?
Yeah.
Two of the most exciting players in football. My heart's with Kansas City. I know this is a Kansas City's a 3-point favorite, but it's a really tepid 3-point favorite, I'll tell you. I'm going to go with Baltimore because I have a feeling Lamar Jackson. You've been riding him for a long time. I wasn't sold on Lamar Jackson until the beginning of last year. He started playing a lot better by throwing a lot better. I think he's finally learned that he needs to throw the ball to win. And he's got his big tight end, Mark Andrews, back from being hurt last year. That's his security blanket, like Kelsey's to Mahomes. This is going to be a hell of a game, but I think I like Baltimore.
You know, I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson. I'm a big fan of what the Ravens have been building. I'm a fan of head coach John Harbaugh and the work that they've put forward. But this game is in Kansas City. It is the Chiefs. And this is one of those games that I believe can go pound for pound and come down to the wire. And if it's going to be a field goal to separate them, I'm giving that field goal to Kansas City and Harrison Butker. As much as it pains me, because I have a ton of respect for Baltimore and a ton of respect for Kansas City, I ultimately I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs to have a slight edge in this one. I think they have a few more guys in their receiving core. Zay Flowers is there in Baltimore, but beyond him, who's there? Him and Mark Andrews, who's there? Where in Kansas City, they just brought in Xavier Worthy, who had the fastest 40 time ever at the NFL Combine at 4.21, which beat out former Kansas City Chief and Super Bowl champion Tyreek Hill's time of 4.29. So I'm going to give a slight edge to Kansas City, but dang it all if I wasn't supporting Lamar Jackson to a bunch of crickets before the world started thinking, oh, this guy's pretty good. So, Lamar, go do your thing. If Baltimore wins, hey, great debut for Derrick Henry in Baltimore purple. I'm excited to see him there. Him running the ball with Lamar Jackson running the ball could be extremely dangerous. Like you said, Lamar, learning different things about being in the NFL and the time he spent there, he can drop back and pass now because you got Derrick Henry. You got a workhorse there that's super, super talented. I don't know why Tennessee let him go. They send these running backs out to pasture in the NFL when you hit the ripe age of 30 or 31 because they think they're too old. I think Derrick Henry's about to tell the world that that's a stupid, stupid decision to make. But Kansas City, to me, being at home, prime time, hard to go against them. Friday night in Brazil, Green Bay at Philadelphia. This is the fight for dark green. You got two dark green teams here, PJ. What do you got with MT's Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I know Hurts has lost his main man, Jason Kelsey, center. Probably going to be a while before he gets acclimated to someone new. But I still think he's the best player on the field for these two teams, and I like Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think Philly is coming into this season with not as much hype, a little underwhelming here. But, PJ, you're going to go with Philadelphia, and I am also going to go with Philadelphia. I agree with you that when it comes to looking at these teams overall, I still think Jalen Hurts is a very talented quarterback. I don't know why people would hate on this guy. It's like, it's that what have you done for me lately approach, I guess. But I think that to me, between him and Jordan Love, I give him the edge. And in that sense, I give Philadelphia the edge to get this victory. I don't think this game is going to be as close as Kansas City and Baltimore. So I got Philly as well. Sunday games start at 1 o'clock. Pittsburgh at Hotlanta. The Pittsburgh Steelers got a new quarterback in Russell Wilson. I think it's smoke and mirrors, and I think it's going to be Justin Fields in a couple weeks. Atlanta's got a new quarterback, and it's Kirk Cousins. However, they drafted Michael Penix Jr. from the Washington undefeated Huskies, who went in all the way to the college football playoff without a loss before they ended up losing there on the national stage. Michael Penix Jr., 8th overall pick, doesn't really make sense to a team that just paid a guy at least $100 million to come in from the Minnesota Vikings, but we shall see. PJ, the battle of quarterbacks in new homes. Who wins this one? Russell Wilson of Pitt or Kirk Cousins of Atlanta?
Frankly, the last 2 weeks, Pittsburgh's been a train wreck. I mean, there's been so much said about Pittsburgh and what they're trying to do with Wilson and Fields and things like that. Too much drama. Kirk Cousins is a future Hall of Fame quarterback, in my opinion, and he'll work out wherever he goes, and he's going to work out here for Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm going with Hotlanta here. You finally got a quarterback that can get the ball out, so look for Drake London to have a better season in reality and fantasy. Look for Kyle Pitts, go Gators, to finally get utilized there. He's been in the NFL for many seasons, but it seems like nobody knows how to get the ball out to him. I think that changes with Kirk Cousins. They have Tyler Algier in the backfield with Bijan Robinson. Kirk Cousins is an above the equator line quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. Maybe you'll finally believe it when he takes this Atlanta offense and turns it up, not one notch, but a bunch of them. I'm excited to see this game. Arizona at Buffalo. Kyler Murray is back. Josh Allen is back. And Buffalo Bills fans still have a hangover from being pissed off from last year. What do you got, PJ?
I like Buffalo big time in this game.
Yeah, Buffalo to me, making a debut, Marvin Harrison's son, Marvin Harrison Jr. with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm excited to see him. Finally got him in one of my fantasy teams in the last draft that we had, which is for my Florida League, which I have with my big brother and meatball number one, Joey. But I'm going to go with Buffalo as well in this matchup. So PJ and I both going with the Bills to win at home. And as much as I'm excited to see Marvin Harrison, this Arizona team is going to have to figure it out, or they might move on, in my opinion, from the Kyler Murray era. And, I mean, I want to see them all do well, but this is a project that I don't think they're going to keep doing over and over again, expecting a different result. Tennessee at Chicago. Will Levis goes into the season as a true starter for the first time ever with the Tennessee Titans and in the NFL. And the Chicago Bears, for the first time ever, will have number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. So this is a young gun versus a young gun. The younger gun is at home. What do you got, PJ?
Oh, cool. I'm not really sold on Caleb Williams yet. I'm sure he'll be a fine player eventually. I don't think he's played enough in the preseason. Really, I think they should have got him bounced around a little bit more to feel it. But they're a better team no matter what Tennessee brings to them. So I like Chicago.
Oh, PJ's going with Chicago. Okay, I made a little mistake there. Based on what you were saying, I started to write Tennessee, but PJ's going with Chi-Town. I'm going to go with Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to come in here. It's the first game for a rookie quarterback. Caleb Williams has a lot of talent. I got to see him live in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, which was an instant classic game. Got to go back and watch Tulane and USC. Fantastic game. And he showed that he could do a lot of things. Really, really amazing, the talents that he has. I think Tennessee's got too much. It's his first game in the NFL. I know it's at home, but I don't necessarily think Chicago's going to score a lot of points in this game. So I have Tennessee. New England, who decided to go with Jacoby Brissett over both of their rookies. Drake May, who was drafted in the first round, and Joe Milton III. Now, I've told you and I will tell you again because I want it on record. Joe Milton will play as a true freshman in the NFL. He will play in his rookie season. It may not be a starting job. It may not be for a ton of downs, but he will get on the field in goal line situations or wildcat or special packages. Mark my words, we will see Joe Milton III, former Tennessee Volunteer quarterback, on the field this season. Drake May is somebody that I was high on, but that changed. When I shouldn't say that changed. It adjusted when I watched Drake May and the time it takes for him to get the ball downfield, and wide receivers having to slow down to wait for the ball to come to them after they've run their route. You can't do that in the NFL. And that might be one of the reasons why Jacoby Brissett, who I also covered over the years, is somebody who's getting the starting job as the veteran. New England, with Jacoby Brissett, goes into Cincinnati with mighty Joe Burrow. What do you have, PJ?
Cincinnati, period.
He didn't even have to take 2 seconds on that, folks. I'm going with Cincinnati as well. Houston at Indianapolis. This is an AFC South matchup that's going to have implications all the way down the season, and it's happening early on here, PJ. What do you have for C.J. Stroud, who comes in as the offensive rookie of the year, the reigning offensive rookie of the year? And he's going up against a guy who some people thought might have a good rookie season himself, but he got hurt. The go-gator, Anthony Richardson, didn't really get to play as a rookie. C.J. Stroud, he got to play, and he's made this team very dangerous. C.J.'s on the road. Anthony Richardson, take 2 of having a rookie season, starts this weekend. What do you got?
Oh, my heart's with Anthony Richardson, of course. And I want to see him play well, but Houston's just too good. I mean, C.J. Stroud showed me last year that he was the NFC Offensive Player of the Year. Could have been, should have been, but he's that good. Houston shouldn't have any problems there.
Yeah, I got Houston in this matchup as well. I'm not, I think I'm hoping good things for Anthony Richardson. His sports cards are definitely selling for a good amount of money, but the one that's selling higher is C.J. Stroud, and that's the one you got to buy. I'm going with Houston this weekend. Jacksonville at Miami. You got some thoughts about Jacksonville, PJ, so I'm going to unleash you here in our On the Prowl coverage of the Jaguars. Let us know what you're thinking about when it comes to the Jaguars, and then give me your pick for Jacksonville traveling down the coast from Duval County all the way down to Dade County to face off against Miami.
Well, there was a blurb yesterday. Shad Khan went on the local NBC station, and he said that this is the best team assembled in franchise history. That's what he believes. Now, I don't quite believe that, but he believes it. If he believes it, I believe it. I think that the Jaguars have got to achieve consistency. Trevor Lawrence. Have you seen a picture of Trevor Lawrence lately?
He's a big guy, right?
He's thick. His arms are thick. His body is thicker. He looks like he's 240 pounds. He's a beast. Well, anyway, I look for Eric Armstead to make a big difference at defensive tackle. Mitch Morse is going to really solidify this offensive line at center. And the jury will be out on Ryan Nielsen and his defense. That's all I can say right there. Who's going to call offensive plays? Coach Pedersen or Press Taylor. No one seems to know that. All the pundits down here are afraid to make a guess, which is probably telling me that Pedersen's going to do it. I predict that Lawrence is going to have over 30 TD, 4,500 yards. I want the Josh and Trevon. They have 30 sacks. Ryan Thomas is going to be an absolute killer this year, wide receiver. I think they'll be 10-7.
So who you got for this one?
10-7.
Yeah, you got 10-7. Who do you got winning this game?
Oh, Jacksonville, of course.
So PJ going with the Jaguars here on the road in Miami. Jacksonville Jaguars, remember back in the day, Dan Marino's last game in the NFL, the Dolphins lost 62-7 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Fred Taylor went off like a mother in that game, and he is my favorite running back to this day. Trevor Lawrence, as you mentioned, you can see some pictures online, added 6 to 7 pounds of solid muscle. So very excited to see what's going on here with Mr. Trevor Lawrence and this team. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who I've covered for ever and for over a decade here, and no one can take that away. The Jacksonville Jaguars, as we continue the coverage of this team, of course, I think they're very talented. I think Miami is talented. I have been a fan of Tua since before he played a down in the NFL. So, this game is in Miami, so I think it's going to be difficult. I think that there's some talent here. The Jaguars have to find a way to stop Tyreek Hill. If Jalen Waddle is able to go, you got Devon Achane at running back, who's coming off of his rookie season. You have Raheem Mostert in the backfield with him as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars, you got Josh Allen, who's now known as Josh Hines Allen. You have him back there. You got a defensive line that's got more guys up front now. And you got a bunch of returning guys, as well as the debuts in the D-back room of Darnell Savage and Ronald Darby. This is going to, in a contract year for Andre Sisco, who hails from Syracuse. There's a lot to be had in this. Foye Oluwakin's in his extension. Josh Hines Allen is in his extension. Hopefully Christian Kirk is able to go. Brian Thomas Jr. is a phenom. I think he's going to have a great rookie season. Let's double down, PJ. I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. Jacksonville Jaguars to get the W over the Miami Dolphins. in the Battle of Florida. Carolina at New Orleans, PJ. Does Bryce Young have a better start to his second season in the NFL, or is he left reeling from going to visit the Saints and the one and only Derek Carr?
Not going to change. New Orleans.
And you know who's not in New Orleans anymore? Your favorite player of all time, famous Jameis Winston.
Numbnuts Jameis, right. That's right. Numbnuts Jameis.
He is no longer there. Jameis Winston is now backing up Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. So PJ and I are both going to go with no. We're going to go with the New Orleans Saints to win this game at home over Carolina. Carolina's done some moves to get in some young talent. They got a bunch of young wide receivers. Jonathan Brooks could end up taking over at running back in his rookie season. We shall see. Right now, the jury's still out, and while that jury's out, I'm going New Orleans as well. Minnesota at the Giants. The Minnesota Vikings have Sam Darnold as their quarterback. Justin Jefferson is back, and they have Aaron Jones as their running back, who has come over from Green Bay in division of the NFC North. For the New York Football Giants, I believe, another prediction for you to write down, that Tommy DeVito, who came from Syracuse and then Illinois, will start at least one game this season. Because I don't think Daniel Jones is the answer in New York. And as much as I covered him, was excited to see, he came from Duke. I got to be real about this. I got to be impartial about this. I don't see Daniel Jones being the quarterback of the future. I don't know if he's the quarterback of this team for the entire season. Tommy DeVito gets at least one start this season, but in this game, there's no Saquon Barkley, and the Giants have to try and figure this out. Minnesota at the Giants. What do you got, PJ?
This is a terrible game. It's going to be a terrible. I'm just going to pick New York because they're playing at home. I mean, it's going to be a terrible game.
PJ says it's going to be a terrible game, but guess what? It's going to be on your network here in Syracuse, New York. Why? Because they show the Giants and the Jets no matter what, as well as the Bills. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota's got way too much for a Giants team that every year people are like, hey, did they get better? And then I look at it and I go, a lot of this kind of feels like more of the same. But I'm hoping for Tommy Cutlets to get out there, and I believe he'll start at least one game. Next one up here, the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Los Angeles Chargers, and this is Jim Harbaugh's first game back in the NFL. Who wins this game with Gardner Minshew, the former Jaguar, quarterbacking the Raiders, and Justin Don't Call Me Herbert going up there with the Chargers? Keenan Allen's not with the Chargers anymore. Mike Williams isn't with the Chargers anymore. Austin Eckler's not with the Chargers anymore. Do they have enough to defeat Raiders, PJ?
Yeah, they do, too. Los Angeles, they got one big arm guy. And he's got an offensive coach, finally, that teaches him some things. So I like Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one as well. Jim Harbaugh, by the way, folks, if you go to hire him, if he was to come back to college, there's a show cause penalty. And I feel like he knew that before he got out. I was surprised he didn't get out earlier because I thought if they're going to penalize the guy, maybe he'll leave before they could punish him. Well, he's in the NFL now, and I think he's going to get a win in his return to the NFL after being with the San Francisco 49ers in the past. The Denver, and by the way, making their debut for the Chargers, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, both coming from the Baltimore Ravens. And I think John Harbaugh is going to stop telling Jim Harbaugh all his secrets at the table there during Thanksgiving dinner, because Jim Harbaugh took a bunch of people from Baltimore and they're talented. So I'm excited to see Dobbins and Edwards in the backfield and what that looks like. Excited to see how this team moves forward for the Chargers, giving them the dub. Next game up, Denver at Seattle. Geno Smith, still the quarterback of the Seahawks. And this is a guy who I have told you is going to have a good rookie season. I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I trust my gut. I stick with my predictions. And Bobo Nix is going to be the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos going into this season, winning the starting job. And I predicted he was going to have a good rookie season well before he even won the starting job. PJ, Bo Nix, Geno Smith, Seattle, who wins in this game in the state of Washington?
Remember, I had Bo Nix going in the top 10, and everyone thought I was crazy He's 24 years old. He's an age quarterback. He's going to step right into Denver and do a job. I like Denver.
Yeah. All I could say about this one is I'm going bole, 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 bole. Bo Nix going to get the victory. But keep in mind, he's got Troy Franklin in the house as well, who came with him in the draft from the Oregon Ducks. I am also going to go with Bo Nix, even though I know the 12th man in Seattle is a rowdy crowd. They're a ruckus crowd. That's what I'm told. Well, guess what? I think this ruckus crowd is going to see Bo Nix come into town and do some things here. The Dallas Cowboys at the Cleveland Browns. The Cowboys have found a contract with CeeDee Lamb. They still got to work on if they're going to keep Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott. They brought back half-shirt McGee, Ezekiel Elliott, and they have Rico Dowdle in the backfield. For the Cleveland Browns, they have Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston on the same team. And both of these guys have gotten in trouble. And both of them are from the ACC. Deshaun from Clemson and Jameis from Florida State. PJ, enlighten me. Do the Cleveland Browns defeat the Cowboys when the boys come into town? And how excited are you for me going to GG Cards and Breaks and finding a Jameis Winston Cleveland Browns card to give to you?
No. No, on all accounts. Cleveland does not win this game.
PJ going with the Dallas Cowboys. Cleveland had a good season. Check your record books, folks. I think it's a first that the Cleveland Browns last season went to the playoffs having 5 starting quarterbacks during the season. Jeff Driscoll, Dorian Thompson-Bishop, as well as Deshaun Watson, PJ Walker, and Joe Flacco. Has there ever been a team that's made the playoffs in the NFL with 5 starting quarterbacks in a single season? I would love to see if anybody can figure it out, because as far as I know, the Cleveland Browns made history last year. They're not going to start off the season with a win, though. The Dallas Cowboys are going to come into town, and they're going to take care of business here. Next one up, PJ. Washington at Tampa Bay. We have the Commanders, who are coming in with the quarterback of the 2024 rookie class that I believe will have the best season among rookie quarterbacks, which is Mr. Jaden Daniels from LSU. He's going up against Baker Mayfield, who has found a resurgence of his career. He has earned his keep, earned a ton of respect, and Baker Mayfield, he is doing a fun dance right now in Tampa, leaving Cleveland, best thing for him. And now he is leading the Bucs at Raymond James Stadium. Does Jaden Daniels get a win in his NFL debut, or is it Baker Mayfield?
Jaden, I think, is going to learn a valuable NFL lesson this week. Besides Baker Mayfield and all the offense, they got a hell of a defense. I like Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm going with Tampa Bay in this one. And by the way, shout out to making the 53-man roster 2 years in a row, undrafted rookie out of Syracuse, Sean Motherfreakin' Tucker. Let's go. So I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. I think you're going to hear that cannon go off a few times in this matchup. Sunday Night Football is the battle of the quarterbacks that swap places. The Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions. The Rams got Matt Stafford and won a Super Bowl. The Lions got Jared Goff, and they made it to the playoffs, and now they're knocking on the door of maybe breaking down that wall and getting to a Super Bowl. Los Angeles Rams at Detroit Lions, Sunday Night Football. Who's winning this one?
Well, this is going to be a hell of a game. The over and under on this is 50 points, which means 50 points at each team is nothing. That's 25 points apiece. I would bet the over for hell. I like Detroit. They're going to out-throw Matt Stafford.
So you got Detroit in this one. I am also going to go with the Detroit Lions in this matchup at home in Motor City. I'm giving Detroit the edge here in the battle of the quarterbacks that switch teams. Matt Stafford doing some good things. They got Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. They got some good stuff going on in the backfield. They bring in Blake Corum from the Michigan Wolverines, who's coming off a national championship. But on Detroit's side, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Both of those guys had double-digit touchdowns. Both of them look like starters last year. Fantasy football owners are hoping they do it again, myself included, because I got David Montgomery in some leagues and Jahmyr Gibbs in others. And Sam Laporta, if he's healthy and well to go, arguably one of the best tight ends of the country. Some people think he's above Travis Kelce right now. Jamison Williams with Detroit, and the defense of Detroit, I'm going to give them the edge because Aaron Donald is not a Ram anymore. He retired. So I'm going with Detroit at home. Monday Night Football, PJ. The New York Jets at the San Francisco 49ers. Why would they do this to Aaron Rodgers? Last year, he played on primetime football. He ran out with the United States flag. He got hit in the first series and was out for the entire year. The New York Jets saw their new quarterback for about 11 minutes. On the other side of it, the San Francisco 49ers are trying to make it back to the Super Bowl. They're trying to come over the hump with head coach Kyle Shanahan. They got Brock Purdy. If he's able to go, they got Christian McCaffrey. They just extended Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver. They got Deebo Samuel Sr. They got George Kittle. They got on the defensive side Nick Bosa. They got a ton of talent. Eric Armstead's with the Jaguars now on the defensive line. But the Niners, if ever there was a time to hold your breath, Aaron Rodgers got hit at the beginning of last season and he was knocked out the whole season. Now he gets to start the season on primetime football once again, and the team hitting him, one of the best defenses in the entire nation, the San Francisco 49ers. Does Aaron Rodgers make it out of this game, PJ? Which I hope he does. And what happens to the Jets when they travel to the West?
No.
PJ says no on all accounts.
This game's going to be ugly, Daniel.
So you're going with
This game's going to be ugly.
You're going with San Fran.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going with the Niners as well. I can't believe that they would do this. Somebody in the scheduling of the NFL has some hate out there for Aaron Rodgers. I want to see him have success. I want to see him get through this game, and I'd like to see him be the starting quarterback for an entire season, for goodness sakes. But I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. Way too much on the defensive side. This team's been licking their chops knowing that Aaron Rodgers is coming to town for many months now. They are starving, and they're going to eat on Monday night. With that being said, that's the NFL, and those are our picks up on your screen. PJ, as always, I appreciate your time. I can't wait to talk with you soon, and have a wonderful Thursday night football as we start off the NFL tonight. Enjoy watching the Ravens and the Chiefs.
All right. Thanks. See you later.
Take care. And coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And those are the picks. That's what you got here, folks, as we take a look at this NFL season that officially starts tonight for 2024-25. The picks, once again, I'll put them back up on the screen. PJ and I have disagreed in a couple places, but mostly, and we don't know our picks going into it. So our disagreeing ones are he picked Baltimore tonight, I picked Kansas City at home. He picked Chicago at home, I picked Tennessee. And PJ picked the Giants at home, I picked Minnesota on the road. Outside of that, we have all of the same picks going in to week 1 of the NFL. We'll see how our picks do, as well as our college football picks for week 2. PJ started off college football 2024-25 with a record of 4-7. My record is 6-5. We're going to try and get on the better side of things here in week 2. And of course, many thanks to all of you for watching and listening all around the country and the world on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But you know we under-promise and over-deliver, and it's almost noon once again. Big time thanks to all of you that have found us on all these platforms. Make sure you find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and once you find us there, You can make sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss a broadcast again. It will upload automatically to your device, and it'll alert you and let you know, hey, there's a new episode of Wake Up Call. Click to listen. It's so easy, and it's free. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT on your favorite podcasting platforms. Big time thanks to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, as well as Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Brian's Landing, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, as well as Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, and a big time thanks to Servomation as well. You can check that all out here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, and hear from these wonderful partners. You can also learn about them by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, and underneath the Partners tab, click on any one of them. To the restaurants, you can order right off of my website, and the location for all of these places is right there for you on wakeupcalldt.com. A map, you can go to wakeupcalldt.com, and for example, go to the Partners tab, click on Avicoli's. You can get the information to order online at myavicolis.com. The phone number is there to call for takeout, delivery, and catering, 315-622-5100. And you can get a map. Click on the map, and from wherever you are in the community, you can type in your address, and it'll bring you to Avicoli's from my website. That's how easy it is. We do that with all of our wonderful businesses, and we love the team that we have. The Lemoyne College Dolphins are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Catch your Dolphins every single Wednesday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You know Dolphin time is Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure that you check them out here with us, jumping into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. All of our content with Lemoyne is on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Lemoyne playlist. You'll also find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to lemoynedolphins.com and fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month here where sports meets life in what we call the Bobcat Buzz. We just went on the pitch with the men's soccer team heading into the 2024-25 season. You can go and watch that on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. When you're there, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our 3+ years of BSC Syracuse coverage on the BSC Syracuse Bobcats playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And of course, you can find their 2 campuses right up the road from downtown Syracuse on James Street in Syracuse, New York, and right off of Route 57 in Liverpool, New York, across the street from Avicoli's. Go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday in what we call Bearcat Time. Worldwide, Tuesdays, weekly at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find stories with student athletes, coaches, and administration. Our Moments with Marshall brings you behind the scenes of Binghamton University and the athletic department with Athletics Director Gene Marshall. And the Bearcat Break Room gives you the stories of student athletes, coaches, and administration. I have had so much fun in just a few months of working with Binghamton University. Can't wait to see what we're going to do next. And you can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and make sure that you go to the Binghamton playlist on our YouTube channel. You can also find them on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. And for more information, go to bubearcats.com. Go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call, Papa Joe with me all through the Thursday broadcast of Wake Up Call. Big time shout out to PJ. Coverage of the Major League Baseball season as we get closer and closer, a little bit over 20 games Can't even believe that. Until the end of the regular season. The hunt for the wild card started a long time ago, and it continues to today. Crazy how you see the wild card standings in like the first 10 games of the season and where that was, and to see where it is now. College football, we went and reflected on our week 1 picks. PJ went 4-7. I went 6-5. We made our picks for week 2 in college football, and we picked the entire field of the first week of the NFL, which starts tonight when we have Thursday night football, the Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. A massive playoff implication game happening in the first game of the year. I know where I'm going to be tonight. I'm going to be sitting with my dog watching this game and loving every second of it. So I look forward to you watching us tomorrow on Wake Up Call. And make sure you go to Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Click follow, like, whatever it is now. Click those buttons. And we appreciate you so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Jerry said, excellent show. Always a good time, especially Thursday with DT and PJ. We love you, Jerry. You are in our prayers, and we hope that you are healthy, safe, happy, and well as all of your loved ones. God bless to you. God bless to everyone out there. Thank you for watching. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Talk with you soon. And welcome back.